The TV show Steven Universe premiered on Cartoon Network in 2013. The project was brought by writer and director Rebecca Sugar, who is most known from her previous project called Adventure Time. While primarily being a show aimed at children, Rebecca Sugar has stated on numerous occasions that she wrote the show intending to demonstrate different minority groups in a way that children can understand. The basis of the show focuses on Steven, who is a young half-human, half-alien boy as he tries to navigate being a child of two cultures. His journey is paralleled by his best friend, Connie Maheshwaran, who is a young half-Korean, half-Indian girl his age who's just moved to town. The aliens of the species are called gems. They are anthropomorphic, sentient creatures based on real minerals that we have on Earth. The characters in Steven Universe are incredibly racially, sexually, and culturally diverse. In this video, I will be focusing on the representation of LGBT characters and how they relate to the rest of the characters, the role of pearls within the gem society, as well as mental health issues framed within the characters. While having this much LGBT representation in a children's show is generally difficult to do with the censorship boards being what they are, Rebecca Sugar has managed to skirt the system by making all of the gems monogendered. They are all referred to as female pronouns, and they all present as female. Ruby and Sapphire are considered the titular lesbian couple within the show. We watch their relationship grow and develop, ultimately culminating in their wedding, which is the first LGBT wedding shown on a children's show, as well as the first lesbian kiss depicted on a children's show. They are a perfectly healthy relationship, and they are used time and time again within the show as an example of how positive communication and affection works within a relationship as the relationship goals of the show. And then, unfortunately, there's Rose Quartz. While the show itself takes place after Rose Quartz's passing, she's shown very often in flashbacks as being someone who is incredibly important to the entire cast, as well as being Steven's mother. The show itself can't seem to decide if Rose is a hero or a villain. The series starts off and she is considered a paragon, worshipped by everyone she left behind, but as Steven and the viewer learn more information about her, the idea of her becomes tainted and we see some of the horrifying acts that she has done. Rose is also the only person in the cast who's portrayed as having a relationship outside of her own species. As her species identifies entirely as female, this makes her the only bisexual character among the cast. That is problematic for a number of reasons. It is revealed that Rose Quartz was previously in a relationship with Pearl, who has since stepped up and acted as Steven's mother since Rose's passing. Not only does this add the uncomfortable layer to the show that Pearl may be seeking the emotional support of her ex-partner from the partner's child, the relationship between Rose and Pearl is consistently framed as abusive. Pearl mentions that she and Rose have been together for centuries. Gems live for thousands upon thousands of years, except Rose would occasionally venture outside of their relationship and find a human man and effectively leave Pearl by the wayside until she had gotten bored with the man or he had died, in which case she'll go back to Pearl, and this cycle continues. Pearl says that Rose, quote, always did what she wanted. This is a harmful narrative for several reasons. First and foremost, it perpetuates the idea that bisexual people are inherently selfish and that they will consistently leave you for a member of the opposite gender out of boredom. The other problem that it has is there is a myth and a misconception that bisexual women in particular don't have valid relationships when dating other women, and that they are using other women as placeholders for when the right man comes along for the only bisexual character in the cast to consistently put her relationship with her female partner to the side in favor of potential male partners, this really passes the wrong message along to children. This results in the second harmful theme within the show, that pearls are inherently property. It is revealed later in the seasons that as the gems move to Earth to escape different social pressures and inequalities, Pearl in particular was treated as a slave. A new gem named Peridot joins the cast. Peridot is fresh from their planet and has never known anything except the rigidness of gem society. When she sees that the group of gems on Earth have a pearl, she is intrigued because in gem society, pearls are owned as a status symbol and as a servant. When she discovers that the group is listening to the pearl as a leader, she points out the ridiculousness of this situation. While this does lead to a rather cathartic moment where Pearl states that she belongs to no one and punches Peridot in the face, I feel like that it is a wasted opportunity for the show to explore what Pearl being treated as property inherently means for the rest of her interactions with the characters, such as exploring how her relationship with Rose Quartz was so complicated and so toxic, and it adds another layer to it that Pearl was a slave to Rose Quartz. She was owned by her. And they do go into a little bit of how Pearl was able to rebuild her self-esteem after being treated as property her entire life. But I feel like they could have gone into it considerably more, though I will give them the benefit of the doubt that it is a kids' show, and that could lead to an uncomfortable territory no matter how it's presented. Another aspect of writing that Steven Universe excels at is its depiction of war and mental illness. In season 1, as the show is primarily shown from Steven's point of view, the war that was fought before his birth seemed glamorous and exciting. He's just living it through stories that his family has told him about the epic battles and dramatic fights. By season 2, however, Steven has had a taste of what the fights actually were like, as some of the enemy gems had come back to Earth and restarted the battles. The show explores themes of PTSD in children through Steven, and while he is the first character in the cast to show signs of PTSD, he's certainly not the last. The show has 2 great examples of how PTSD can have lasting effects. Pearl is shown to have PTSD, but with a very functional support system of friends and family to help her through it. The themes of how PTSD affects someone are even further fleshed out in my personal favorite character, Lapis Lazuli. Lapis serves to show that PTSD does not necessarily always come from war. Sometimes it comes from abuse or from toxic relationships. Lapis had been imprisoned and harmed for centuries, which resulted in an immense amount of terror. They also do a wonderful job of showing that how, without any sort of treatment or support system, the terror from PTSD can very quickly turn into rage and anger. A moment that hits home for me personally during Lapis's character arc is she has a song entitled Distant Shore. I highly recommend you look it up. In Distant Shore, she articulates that she's reached a point in her healing where she understands that she has a place where she can be safe and she does have people who care about her, but through her trauma, she can't bring herself to connect with them because she always has that knee-jerk reaction that if she allows anyone to get too close, either emotionally or physically, that they will harm her, and this causes her significant distress until she's able to work through it. The final character I'm going to look at in the mental illness minority group is a character named Spinel and how she relates to borderline personality disorder. Spinel is a relatively new character introduced in the Steven Universe movie that came out a few months ago. Originally introduced as a villain, Spinel shows over the course of the movie that she has some relatively complex issues. After being cruelly abandoned on a deserted planet by the monarch that she was assigned to, Spinel develops some very serious abandonment issues. She also develops significant self-worth issues, as she's constantly in fear that the people around her will grow tired of her and abandon her as well. Spinel demonstrates many classic borderline personality disorder traits, such as fear of abandonment, self-destructive behavior, shifting senses of identity, explosive anger. By the end of the movie, we realize that she's simply not a villain in the truest sense, and that the characters around her, Steven in particular, realize that what they saw as villainous behavior were actually facets of her mental illness coming to the surface that she can't control. The most heartbreaking quote she has is towards the end of the film as she's attempting to kill Steven, and she has a momentary break from her anger, and she says, "You actually liked me, didn't you? I'm supposed to be your friend. Why do I want to hurt you so badly? I just wanted to be your friend." These kind of severe emotional conflicts are common in people with BPD. And while the cast shows a significant amount of understanding for her issues, it becomes clear very quickly that they simply don't have the time or the patience to help her with these issues, which is a common problem for many people who have more severe personality issues. The characters don't want to abandon her simply because they don't know how to help her, and they find a family that is willing to take her in, that does have the resources, the time, and the energy to put into helping Spinel become a more balanced, healthy person. This serves as a wonderful example to children about how to deal with other children that they might not understand, or children who have special needs. Overall, I think Steven Universe does accomplish its goal of introducing children to how different minority groups interact. While there's definitely room for improvement, they do a great job with what they have. And it's a great lesson to other kids show writers that these are topics that can absolutely be tackled in a way that's appropriate for children. There's one final season of Steven Universe left, and I'm really hoping that some of the issues that have been brought up by fans that I've mentioned in this video will be addressed.